From K103. If you don't know Don Smooth, then you sleeping. So, give it up for Don Smooth real quick.
Thank you very much, Click. And once again, I want to thank y'all for coming out, and shows that you're interested in your craft and your careers and wanted to further yourself. We're very honored today because we have a very talented individual who's been on the scene since the early 90s. He's a triple threat, a DJ, producer, as well as he gets behind the microphone. He's done work with Soul Assassins, very famous for his work with Mobb Deep. So without further delay, I want to welcome to you from California, renowned producer, the Alchemist is live with us today. Give it up for the Alchemist. Great, have a seat. Great to have you.
What's up, y'all? What's up? Okay.
Now, Montreal right now, the hip-hop scene is really starting to grow out here, and we actually have a scene. We've had artists throughout the years, but now it's really starting to grow and take shape. And you came in the 90s, coming out of Los Angeles, which was kind of early for you guys too. It was the infant stages.
Yeah.
So I just want to find out, how is it that you got into the industry? First of all, what is it that about hip-hop music that struck a chord with you that made you want to pursue it?
Oh man, I think, like growing up in LA on the West Coast, it was like, we did a lot of shit. I skateboarded, we did graffiti, and then it was like, I remember breakdancing, it was hidden, and it was like, there was all these different ways to be creative, and it was like all these things that we were doing. Now that I think back, it was like you would get in, it wasn't like team sports, like, you play basketball, you got a whole team of people. But like these like skateboarding, graffiti, and then later like beat making, it was like a way that you can get in your own zone, and just be real creative on your own. Skateboarding, you find a little curve. You might be with a bunch of people, but it's really like you in your own zone. And that to me was always dope, just so you could be, it's always a team effort, but like to have your room to just be creative and create your own style, that was like intriguing to me. So that's how it really started, and it was just like, first it was DJing, and it was like, but there was no line, you know what I mean? It was like, just do everything. It was never, I never thought about like, this is the one thing I want to do, so.
Right. So you started out with the group, it was the Hooligans, you Mad Skills. You guys started out very young in the early 90s with the Put Your Hands Up. Okay. That was a big song.
I think I was a better rapper then, man.
Yeah, you were tight.
I was much better as a kid. I was just loose, it was fun, everything was new, so. But I got beats now, so I'm like, okay.
Now when you think LA, automatically, you think of Dr. Dre, you think of Snoop Dogg. The Hooligans were kind of different. So what was the audience that you guys attracted, and how did you market yourselves?
Truthfully, I was so young. I was just like, everything was like a movie every day. It was like smoking so much weed at a young age. It was just, everything was just so fresh, that I really didn't even have an idea. And when I think back, it was like, damn, if I knew what I knew now, I could have, we were really just like a product, it was like I was 15, and I was, we worked with T-Ray, we worked with, producers. It was like the Baker Boys, we wanted to work with Muggs, but at the time he was like the god, I couldn't even get, he was the big homie, but it was like, you can work with Lethal, work with T-Ray, Baker Boys, but it really was like, at the time, I would have wanted to work with, we want to get with Pete Rock or, Premier, but we didn't have that access, we had managers around us who were like, no, you should work with these people, because they managed, Cypress Hill, House of Pain, the people we were signed to, and that's the first, like, beginning of me seeing how it was like, managers, they connect their people, it was like, they had a vision for us, and they just maneuvered, and we were like, yeah, because we first were signed to QD3, a lot of people don't know, Quincy Jones' son he lived next door to Evidence in Venice. And so, we used to just hear beats in his crib. He had long dreadlocks, he was like, later on he would produce for, Tupac and Ice Cube, but at the time he had like dreads, and he was like, real like Tribe Called Quest type of sound, we were really into it.
Yeah.
And that was my first, vision of, just seeing the beat making, we worked with him first, and once we got with Cypress and got our deal, they like made us think that he was out to get us. And I remember at one point we were like, yeah, fuck Quincy, yeah, you know, we're over here now. You know, over the years we became, you know, it was like a falling out, and it's funny because, I don't know if you remember Yo-Yo, IBW and my crew. That beat was actually like the song we got signed off of. And I was rapping just like I had a high-pitched voice, and like the style was really similar. And it was like when we fell out with Quincy, he went and gave the beats to Yo-Yo at the time, you know, and we were like, yo, fuck Quincy, you know, we really didn't understand. And now when I look back, I see it was like the management, they weren't managing Quincy, so they had no interest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? QD, so they were more, you know, managing, you know, T-Ray or whoever else, and they wanted us, they kind of maneuvered us. So now when I look back, it's like, damn, it's just like, you know, I still think back to that stuff, so in the future I know not to make those mistakes.
Boy, those mistakes are definitely huge. You guys came a long way from the work you do with the Hooligans.
Yeah.
Of course, like you mentioned, that led to you working with Lethal and the Soul Assassins.
I learned a lot from Lethal.
You learned a lot of your production from him.
Yo, Lethal's crazy. A lot of people don't know, because, you know, Limp Bizkit and all that. Yo, his beat making, I learned a lot. Like, he took me to Guitar Center. It was like, yo, I wanted the SP, because everybody, like I was, you know, Muggs, they all had the SP12. And he was like, nah, buy this. It's this new keyboard, the ASR 10. I didn't even know what it was. And I don't know how to play keys, so at first I saw it, I was like, nah, I want the, you know, the pads, you know, chop. He's like, nah, this, you can chop with this too. And I just trusted him, and that's how I kind of like built my sound with that.
What influences your sound? Because I've checked out a lot of your music, and you're one of those producers. I always label the great producers as the ones where you can recognize them because they have like a trademark signature to it, but it doesn't sound repetitive. And I noticed you use a lot of like 70s stuff, stuff that's slowed down, you speed it up, all that. But you know, when you're going through digging through the crates, what are some of the things that you look for? What motivates you when you're sampling and producing?
I just look for like sounds I've never heard before, like strange chord progressions, like not regular ones. You know, like some of the, you know, like regular. You know, when you go through records, so you go through like stages. You know, I remember way back at a certain period, we were just buying jazz records, anything CTI or certain labels. And then you got bored of that and started, you know, sampling the soul records. And then you get bored of that and you're like, all right, progressive rock. You know, you just kind of venture off into all these different directions. So, yo, like really when I'm going like looking through records, there's like about a checklist of like 20 different things on my mind. I mean, go off to say them now, I couldn't even think, but it's like, you know, look at the cover, right? Look at what year the record was. Look, read the liner notes. What artists were on this? You know, look at the grooves. Look at the label. Look at the. You kind of factor them all in, and then you just go. Something, you know. And really, truthfully, it's not about the record, anyways, because you know, you make a beat out of anything. Yeah. If Oh No was here right now and he's on his way out of it, this guy comes over and like he'll make a beat out of anything. Like, you know, Madlib is his brother. Madlib has like unlimited records. His collection is ridiculous, but O, being his younger brother, like he had to be more creative because he didn't have access to those records. Yeah. So like, Oh No will come to my crib and he'll bring like a beat CD and he'll say like Off the Wall, you know, and I'll be like, what's that? He's like, oh, I just, you know, 30 beats from the Off the Wall Michael Jackson album. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I think it's just, none of it sounds regular. He'll just take a piece from here or there. Or he'll come over, Willy Wonka, you know, 20 beats from the Willy Wonka movie. He just, you know, he just really, like, he sets parameters and just goes. So I think that's dope.
What up, ScaleXL?